What is going on, guys? It's El Trader Goof back here with you guys. Giving you guys my weekly watch list of a couple stocks that I will be looking at this week. Of course, as you guys are seeing here, first one that I will be watching is going to be Hims. Hims was a nice mover for us back in February when we got in on this pop here, and we got that all-time high, right? So going into earnings this week as well. They do have earnings tomorrow after the market closes, I believe. So this is gonna be one of my watch lists, one of the stocks that I will be watching here this week. Overall, of course, we can see here on this daily time frame, nice little uptrend, right? Right here on the daily time frame, we can see that these 23s slash 24s, this area was held as a nice area of support, right? We can see here, held, staying above our 200 EMA here as we are seeing here, which is going to be in my green line. The purple line is going to be my 20 EMA, light blue is going to be my 5 EMA, right? So we can see here on this daily time frame, a little consolidation here around this 200 EMA. And then once we started to break above the 200 EMA, we see that we start to break above the 5 EMA, 20 EMA, and etc. Right? So going into tomorrow's earning, this is what I'm watching going into the day. So let's go ahead and dive into our 1 hour time frame. 1 hour time frame, we can clearly see nice little uptrend, right? From last, let's see here. So the 30th was the last month, right, of April. We can see here, nice little held on the 1 hour time frame, right? So let's go ahead. So we can see there that those 31s, roughly those 32s, held as a support here based off this hourly time frame, right? Now on top of that, what are we seeing here? We can see that we are nearing roughly a pre-market high here, right? From 429, pre-market high of 442.72, right? So that being said, that is an area that we will be looking at going into today, to break above, to get into some calls, to go ahead and target up into roughly those 46s, which I have here. 45 to 46s area is what I'm roughly going to be targeting for Hims. And even, of course, if we do break above, as you can see here on today's pre-market high, is going to be 42.47, right? So if you want to wait for a confirmation breaking above that 42.50, you want to see buyers push that and push above the 29th pre-market high as well, which is going to be at 42.72, right? So if we can get a buyer push breaking above those two levels, ideally what we're looking at is we want to see those buyers push up into those 46 area, right? That 45, 46 area going into tomorrow's earnings, right? So what we're looking at is for a pre-earning run up, right? So we can see here as well. You see how that line that I have drawn up is lining up with areas where we have broken fully down and then reject to continue higher, right? You can see here rejection, and then based off this rejection, we never really even got back up near that area. So that's the area that we're looking for to break and basically go ahead and target up into those 45/46 areas for Hims. That being said, sorry about that. Let's go ahead and go into, so we can see here, nice little option, right? So with that being said, the backup partnerships of Novo, of course, right? So despite the peak in February after the FDA declared into the shortage of their GLP-1 therapy, we've seen a nice increase in the shorts, right? So with that being said, the short entrance for Hims is at a crucial level going into this week with earnings. So for those that are short, those short sellers that are short for HIMS, they might be in for a squeeze if we do break above these areas, I feel like, right? So those are things that I'm watching here. Mind you, their financials have been overall growing a good amount, a good percentage over these past quarters, right? So that's also something that we look at, right? With that being said, it's a mid cap growth company, right? We've seen all the ads that they've been putting out. So if they have ads going out, that must mean that they have money to be able to promote their company, right? Whatever is in their pipelines, etc. Right? So overall, daily time frame is in an uptrend, right? So like I mentioned, I'm targeting roughly those 45, 46s for HIMS for this week, right? So next one that I have is going to be DJT, right? We all know Trump Media Technology is going to be Trump's overall stock, right? So when I'm looking here, what caught my attention, overall time frame, we can see daily time frame uptrend, right? Ever since we hit this low back in the 920, let's see, what is that? Yeah, 924.24 of last year, we've basically been a nice little uptrend, right? We can see here, pullback, boom, right? Here, we're holding these, what is this, roughly these 15s, these 1545s, right? So with that being said, look at here, nice little uptrend. But also one thing that I'm looking to possibly, if given, to play out is to see if we can get this and to shoot up, right? Possible cup and handle pattern, right? So can we go ahead and break out of this possible cup and handle pattern that we're seeing here? And with FOMC this week, with Trump easing up on his tariffs and all this, will this all play a factor going into this week to be able to give DJT a nice little push up and possibly go test into this 200 EMA, right? To go test up into these 2730s, right? So that's ideally what I'm looking for at here. So that is the area that we're going to be targeting this week. It's going to be roughly those 27s to 28s overall, right? So that is the reason why I'm looking at that. We can see if we go into our smaller time frames, we are able to also see how we are holding above our 200 EMA, right? So if we're holding above our 200 EMA, that's a good idea, right? We know that buyers are still in control of that, right? So therefore, that is what we're looking at. We can see that we've been trading in between these 27s and 23s, right? So nice little 4-point move in between the past couple days from 423 all the way up into today, right? So that is areas that we are looking for to break, right? So if this morning we are able to break above, what are we looking at here? Let's see. Let's go. Daily time frame. Okay, so daily time frame, that's what it's showing me. 1 hour time frame. So 1 hour time frame, ideally what I'm looking for is I want to see us start to break out of this small little downtrend, right? So we can sort of start to break out of this. Right, we can see sort of what we're seeing, right? So this is what I want to see us start to break above here. Breaking out of roughly these 2550s, right? So if we can break above those 2550s, it's going to be an area where I'm going to be looking at to roughly start a position to go test up into those 2590s, right? And if we start to get into a position here to go test up into these 2590s, what are we targeting? We're targeting 26 and 27 calls, right? So those two are going to be things that we're going to be looking at here for DJT. So that is going to be reason why I'm looking at this based off everything that the pattern, the chart is showing me, right? So That's going to be that. And then, of course, another thing that I was looking at is Starbucks. Starbucks, right? We all love Starbucks, right? All love coffee. Just like me, I love coffee. So, overall, what do we see here on the daily time frame? Let's go over, right? Let's walk through what I have drawn up here for you guys. So, overall, daily time frame, we can clearly see I've got area here marked off, which is going to be roughly the 75, 76, right? Now, reason why I have this marked off here is because we can see a possible double bottom, right? We can see it basically after earnings that we had last week for Starbucks. We can see that we basically almost create a double bottom, right? A possible double bottom formation here. We can see here and here, right? So, with that being said, after earnings, we can see green days closing, right? So, with all this, look at all that we have. So we have double bottom, then we have this trying to break up, then we have this daily gap here, that 200 EMA. So, with all of this that we are able to see and find, what we're putting into what we can say a formation is to be able to find a position to get into for calls to the upside, right? So what are we looking at? We're looking to get out of this area, target calls up into those 89s, and then hopefully by end of the week, if given, we can fill this daily gap up, right? But overall, we're looking to break out of this, give us a nice little push up, and finally start to break out, right? So let's go ahead and draw this line here too as well, breaking above those 86s. So if we go into the 1 hour time frame, what do we see? All right, we can see how our trend line from over here is lining up with Friday's high, right? Friday's high, and then going into pre-market, we can see how it's lining up here, right? Staying above our 20 EMA, staying above our 200 EMA, staying in our 5 EMA, right? So ideally what we're looking for, we go here, we're going to go ahead and use that pre-market low, right? So if we lose this pre-market low, there's a possibility that Starbucks is going to go more lower, right? So we're possibly go test into this 200 EMA, but first we would like to see us go ahead test into that 20 EMA and then go down, right? So of course we have here 83, so we can say 84s, right? We can say that 84s is an area of support that we're looking for here on Starbucks going forward. So if that breaks, of course, we can go ahead and get puts to, we can get 84 puts in the money, or even 83 puts out of the money, right? Because we're breaking below that 84. But if we start to break up, right? Start to break up, ideally roughly out of, so this is 5 a.m. Yep, so that's 5 a.m. So that 5 a.m. high, we're going to use that as the pre-market high, right? So roughly those 84.50s is an area that we're looking at to break up, get a started position to look to break above Friday's high of 84.83, right? So if we start to break above that, we can start to size up, right? And reason being is because if we look at our frame, what do we see, right? We can see how right around this area, there's a lot of trading going on, right? So we know that if we start to break above here, boom, we can go ahead and start to chase this wicks liquidity to the upside, right? So therefore, that is why we are seeing all this and using all this to our conclusion to be able to analyze these things. So we can play puts to the downside, we break 84 here, or we can play calls if we start to break above roughly those 85s to the upside here on Starbucks. Now if we do start to break above those areas, we're looking at 85 to 86 calls or 83, 84 puts, right? So those are three things that I'm looking at going into today or into the overall week, guys. So hopefully these three are going to be something that you guys are going to be able to bank on, make some money on, and go about it from there. And if you guys would like to to see more of these videos, just please like and subscribe and comment what you feel like I'm missing or what you would like to see more of. So that being said, let's have a great first week of May in this week. Let's have a strong week. Let's trade smart and let's just bank, guys.